Welcome everyone. This is the Confidence Code podcast, episode number 2. Woohoo! Today we have a very special guest with us, Matt Holman, and I'm very, very thankful that he's taking the time to do the podcast with us. He's very special for two reasons. One, because I know him from our Amex times, our previous workplace. And also, he's the founder of Simpila, which is a fantastic company focusing on helping people improving their mental health. And as Mental Health Awareness Week is coming up in May, and it's a really, really big deal in the UK. Hopefully it's becoming a thing across Europe as well, and Hungary too. We are going to talk everything mental health, and because the title of my podcast is The Confidence Code, we are going to relate back to confidence in many different ways. So, thank you again, Matt, for taking the time and the opportunity, and welcome to the Confidence Code podcast. I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we crack on with the first questions.
Oh, thank you. Absolute pleasure to be here as well, Mesi. And firstly, happy birthday to you. I wanted to put that in there first for you because I think it's really important to recognise, life events and changes and experiences that we go through. And it's been fascinating watching you evolve over the last couple of weeks, in particular in the sort of the rundown or the countdown to this big day. So I feel really privileged actually to be able to record with you on your birthday. So thank you for doing that too. Very quick introduction. You did a great introduction for me. Keep it nice and simple. That's where Simpila come from, actually, was the thought of building a company where we help businesses and people to sort of simplify some of the complexity in life. But yeah, I've been around this field for quite a long time now. I think it's sort of, I've learned more in the last 8 years since this began than I did in the previous 25 years of my career. And I genuinely can say that with all honesty. When I learned more about this topic of mental health, it changed sort of my perspective on the world, and I just love connecting with humans. As you mentioned the amazing humans, or it's a thing for me that I think is really important, because I think every single person has the ability to be an amazing human, because we go through experiences, we go through traumas, we go through changes, we go through all of these things in our lives, and yet we still keep going. And I love that, and I think everybody's amazing. So yeah, that's my sort of opening. Just a very brief introduction, Mesi, because I know there's lots of things you want to talk about as well. So hope that works. Hope that helps, and yeah, there we go.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much. And also something really important to mention, that you were so kind that you actually invited me to be a guest on your podcast just after a month when I started off. How cool is that? That was so amazing. I was so pleased, like, oh my God, I'm becoming like a podcast guest. Like, I'm just so new to this business, and I was so grateful to you. So guys, I'm going to share that link as well. You can check this out, like how I was talking about myself and the business, like I think it was 7 months ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah, it was probably even longer. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Very early in your start, but yeah, and you've done amazing as well. So well done for you for keep going and persisting. And again, it comes down to that point, doesn't it? Of we venture through these journeys in our lives, and sometimes the challenges are really hard, and it's too easy to give up and go back to where we know before. And you've done really well. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I think it's an anniversary and a celebration in many aspects today. So I'm really, really glad that I have you here today. Okay, so I mentioned like how we met. We met at Amex GBT. We both coming from travel backgrounds, and somehow magically both of us ended up in the well-being industry, which is really, really amazing. I think it's undeniable that it's a movement and it's a thing now. So the first question would be really. How did you end up in the mental health field, and how what was your inspiration really, and what's your drive, what's your inner drive with this whole thing, and what inspires you daily with your business and in this field, because I think it's just fascinating, and I think it's the best thing to deal with. So like everyone would need to be like take the time to deal with that.
Okay, so you've asked me a lot of questions in there, and I could spend hours answering each one of them. But I'm going to try
each one by one.
and I genuinely find it really hard, because when I get moving on these topics, I love it. I'm really you'll see it. You feel it. We've spoken before, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But But for me, you said a word earlier that I hooked onto a thought, which was magic. You said, the magic of us joining. I never thought it was magic when I joined this area, and I never actually had an intention to go into this space at all, right? I was a corporate global travel person. I was in that industry for 20 plus years. I thought I knew everything that was going on. I thought I had it all together. I was at a point where, I pretty much was an expert in what I was delivering, what I was doing. That's how I felt. And then it all went wrong. And so the first movement for me into the world of mental health was really created by my own personal experience, right? So there's a lot of other things going on, and I'll synchronize it, or I'll shrink it into sort of the key points. But I was traveling a lot, and I know I've talked a lot about this in the past years. I was traveling a lot, and I was tired, and I was burnt out, and I was on the verge of, almost breakdown, I guess. If I hadn't had harm done to me, that's how I determine it, I don't know what would have happened to me personally. I don't know what I would have done to myself. And I mean harm in the sense of going through a workplace where I didn't feel I had support. I didn't feel that genuinely anybody was worried or concerned about me. And to find myself on a Friday afternoon in America being fired from my job wasn't what I was expecting in my career, and I was and interestingly, sort of 40 was quite a pivotal point for me then, because I was just, about to turn 41. So I was in my early 40s, and I was destroyed. I genuinely felt destroyed by that, because I'd grown through my career, I'd progressed, and I'd got more responsibility, more money, all the wonderful trappings of success and achievement. But I wasn't happy, and I wasn't looking after myself, and genuinely nobody around me was that bothered. That's how I felt, right? And this is all about my personal perspective and feeling. So I didn't feel anybody was worried about me at that point. So I sort of landed face first on the floor and crashed. And you know what? I hate the thought that people go through these journeys and experiences and crash without safety or support around them. So when I sort of woke up, I guess that was January of 2016, I woke up in February of 2016, just sort of going, I need to change this, right? I need to do something here. And I made a conscious choice at that point. I've talked about it on many podcasts and events, and I'm writing about it at the moment, because I'm writing a book as well about change, because change is a massive part of our journey in our lives. And some of us go through change and we can adapt to it very quickly. Some of us go through change and we struggle with that. But at that moment in time, in that February, just at the very beginning of February, I said, I need to make a choice. And the choice is really simple. We all have one very simple choice to make every single day. Do I get up or do I give up? And for me, I got up, because I said, no, I'm not giving up. And I had too many reasons not to give up. Family, friends, all the people around me, the ones I loved and cared about. So I said, I'm going to get up. And what I chose to do at that point was also a second decision I made, which was, I'm never working for anybody ever again, Mesi. I can't
I can relate to that now.
Yeah. But at that moment in time, I was like, you know what? I can't go through the same experience again that I've been through with the boss who is just, and that's my personal experience. And so that was my driver. Don't work for anybody ever again. Get up and do something. And then I went, well, what the bloody hell am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. So I chose the path of, I want to help people, okay? Whatever my role in the world looks like in the future, I want to support people to not get to where I got to. I don't want people to be blindsided by all of a sudden turning up in a meeting room and being fired on the spot. I really hate that thought, because you know what? That's unfair, that's unreasonable, and it's destructive. So people would be destroyed by those. And it destroyed me for a while, and I had to rebuild, and it took a long time. But what I also chose to do when I created Simpila was that's the reason why the name was Simpila. It's funny because a lot of people struggle to pronounce it. And I guess the spelling of it is a little bit more complex than I anticipated when I put it together. I went, the company's called Simpila, right? We're just going to call it Simpila because that's how we simplify the world for all these struggles that people go through. It's a very complicated place. And then all of a sudden, these windows all opened for me. These opportunities started to open where somebody said, come and join our business and support us through helping more people. And I was like, yeah, brilliant. So I had a lot of transferable skills. I wasn't in the world of wellbeing and mental health. I'm not a counsellor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'd done no training in it. Mental health to me was something that I'd never really ventured into. I became a Samaritan, which is a listening volunteer support, because I wanted to go and help more people. And so Simpila evolved. And during that journey, what was incredible was, as I start talking about my own personal experiences, people listened. And then people started to pay me to talk about my experiences. And then I was able to deliver trainings and sessions and workshops and go, I wasn't traveling again because I wasn't that bothered about the traveling. I've done it for years. But all of a sudden, I've got all these people that I used to work with and, be around saying, can you come and talk to us about this? Can you come and talk to us about travel wellbeing? Can you come and talk to us about mental health in the workplace? And I've just built this world where now I'm being engaged to talk about the experiences rather than just going in with a textbook. I've got tons of textbooks. I've got tons of materials. But what they're actually looking for is the real experience. So they want the real deal. And I love that because I stand on stage and I struggle. And I know we've talked about this as well, Mesi. Imposter syndrome is a big thing for me. I got fired on a Friday afternoon in January of 2016. Every time I stand up and I talk about my mental health or my journey, what runs through my mind all the time is that these people in this room or whoever's listening to this podcast, nobody would ever give me a job ever again. I'm unemployable, okay? And that's actually a positive driver for me. So that thing about confidence, my confidence comes from the positive thought of saying, I don't want to work for anybody ever again. Remember, that was the sort of objective task one to, well, actually, if that's the case, then I need to create my own. And that's what's driven me. So I've done amazing things. I've got my own podcast, as you said, and you've been an amazing guest on there. I've recorded 100, I think it's 178 episodes of that now. So at the time of recording this, I've got more to record, and it's time, isn't it? And I love my space now, Mesi. I really do. In terms of why I love it and what drives my passion every day, it's firstly, amazing people that I get to work with and talk with. And every single conversation I have, whether it's a podcast recording like this, whether it's a meeting with my team, whether it's training a new group of people, I just love people. And I think everybody has this wonderful ability to improve themselves. But because we've got to points in our lives where we say, well, I know it all, or we believe or perceive to know it all, we stop learning. And that has been the biggest thing. So every single day to me is a lesson. Every single day I wake up and go, let's go, what we're doing. That's why I'm posting about positive intentions this week. That's why there's many things that we can do really positively in our spaces. And I just want everybody to feel that way. I want people to connect to that and say, look, I'm going to look after myself here and I'm really going to take my priority. So that's one of my passions. But the other one is my children. And I haven't really talked about it yet into this session, we're however many minutes in. But my girls, and I've got two daughters. My eldest daughter is going to be 22 this year. My youngest daughter is going to be 17 in a couple of months. And both of them have been through their own experiences with mental health alongside my own personal experience. And it wasn't created by my problems and my challenges. It was just whatever the circumstances, situations for them. And most importantly, they both have neurodiversity in their makeup. So my youngest daughter was diagnosed with ADHD in January of 2023, and my eldest daughter was diagnosed with autism in 2020. But what is important is it's connecting those pieces to mental health. Now, I'm a massive advocate of this conversation around mental health, but I'm also a massive advocate of the conversation around neurodiversity, workplace well-being, menopause, all the topics that come in the big umbrella of well-being.
That's cool. We'll do another episode and then I'll invite you again and we can talk about that too.
I'll change the banner. Let's talk about neurodiversity.
Exactly.
But why is this? And I'm sort of unveiling it slowly because I think it's really important to sort of explain. It's all okay to talk about this stuff, okay? So that's what I talk about every day. My eldest daughter has struggled with her mental health, with serious mental illness for the last 6 years. So since 2018, she's really struggled to maintain a healthy level of existence, unfortunately, in many cases. She was diagnosed with anorexia at 15 years old. It was only when she turned 18 that she was diagnosed with autism, so neurodevelopmental conditions versus mental illnesses. So I have a big thing about the sort of the connectivity between eating disorders and autism in particular, especially in young girls or young females. And the challenges just carried on for her. And to the point that when she was 17, she was hospitalized for a year. So she was taken into hospital for a year when she was 17. Came home at 18, and in April of 2021, she was back into crisis again. She was back into suicidal crisis, and she's still in hospital now. So she's been in hospital for over 3 years now, which is a long, long time. And it's hard as a family and as a community around her. And her younger sister, who's 5 years younger, has been through this whole journey. So she was only 11 when she first saw her sister struggling with a mental illness. And so these are things that continue to power me every day. And the thing for my eldest daughter that I love, she has a tattoo on her arm, and it says, the sun will rise and we will try again. Okay, it's a lyric from a song as well. But it's that reminder of every day is another day. And people talk about me to me about the future. And it's quite interesting because I've got this view of the future to say, look, none of us are guaranteed a future, right? We aren't. We can plan as much as we like. And people talk about retirement and all these wonderful things that they look forward to. And you're saying, why don't you look forward to today? Why don't you just worry about right in this moment? Now, planning financially for the future, of course, it's important. But if you're not enjoying today because you're worried more about when you turn 65, 70 years old, you're missing a big opportunity. Live life without regrets. That's the most important thing. Enjoy your moment. Take your chance. Leap of faith, if it may be. You did it with your job. You left that job. You took your redundancy. You started your treat your staff. And look, even if it eventually doesn't work out, you've tried it and you can never say you didn't. And that to me is what this is all about. My daughter gets up every morning and she tries again. She goes again. She wakes up. She puts on her makeup. She has a shower. She does what she needs to do. She's still in a hospital setting. She gets community access so she can go out. She can go to the gym. She can see other people. But she's in the safest space for her. And I just remind myself every day when things are looking a bit bleak, some people have got it much worse in terms of their struggles, their challenges. And that doesn't make her challenges, just extreme to the point that nobody else goes through it. Everybody's going through something. So there we go. That's a little bit about my passion, my motivation, my reason why. I think I've covered pretty much everything you asked me.
Yeah, you did.
Missing?
You did. Yeah, brilliant. I love it. So on this note, what you mentioned about like focusing on today, I'm absolutely freaking out of tattoos, but I'm planning to have one single tattoo just here, like on my arm, like somewhere here. And guess what that would be? It would be just a few words about live in the now. So I'm absolutely relating to that. And I think that's real power. Because most of the time we find ourselves like either staying in the past, like, just replaying those negative stories from the past, or we worry about the future, right? But we kind of like miss this window of really, really precious opportunity. Just simply enjoy that we are here doing this podcast, and probably many people are going to listen to it and how amazing that is. And we both are so grateful that we are here. And it's just so amazing.
100%. And I think that is the biggest change of my life that I've been through. That transition from being in a world where it was dictated, the drum was banged by somebody else, where somebody was telling me what to do, when to do it, how to do it, why to do it, where to go in the future, you know what? I've created my own space now, and I love that. And I talk to people, and I feel a little bit. Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because I don't really know what the word is I should use. Because I sort of say lucky, and then I think, well, no, it's not, because I created it, right? So luck is something that's created by others for you. So maybe you're feeling lucky, and that's how I feel about it. And so I don't really know what the word is. I feel very humbled by the thought of this man who was on his knees in 2016 is now standing on stages and talking to thousands of people, or going on a webinar and work. And some of the companies that I'm working with, I'm like, it blows my mind. It really does, Mesi, because I thought, how the hell did they engage with me to come and talk to them? And I'm dealing with like
exactly. I have exactly the same.
Yeah, it's like, so that's the imposter
really
syndrome.
Like clients are paying me like, what is happening? Yeah, it's mental sometimes. Yeah,
and that's the imposter syndrome. But that is the thing about that being genuine and authentic to ourselves. I won't change myself for somebody else now. I won't pretend to be something that I'm not to other people. So, of course, there are certain styles of delivery that I might adapt if I'm in a position where I'm with a certain type of client or with others. But I really try to keep myself as honest and genuine as I can now, and authentic, because I think that's what the world's missing, or that's what we're seeing a lot more in the world now, is genuine people coming forward and saying, you know what, I've struggled. So be it. We've all been through experiences, but you know what? Don't judge me on that, because that's taught me a bigger lesson than those who haven't struggled. Because those who haven't struggled, who've had it easy through life, who have been on that journey and they've been handed everything they've ever wanted and they've been given the opportunities, that's not me. That's not me. I've worked bloody hard. I had a conversation. Sorry, I go a bit off tangent. Conversation with my daughters over the last few days about houses, and we talk about some friends of ours. They've got a big house, they've got obviously good incomes, and they were talking about that. I said, oh yeah, but our friends, they live in this big house, and I said, yeah, but they bought it because they earned it. They've worked really hard and they've built something themselves. And I'm trying to instill that into my children to say, look, if you work hard, you can have whatever you want in life. If you don't work so hard, you either get it handed to you on a plate or you just don't have anything. And it's hard, isn't it? And you get that because you work hard. You're a grafter. You do a lot of work. So, this is what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. So because the title of the podcast is The Confidence Code, and the reason for that is I was just so fascinated by around this mystery and misery around this word confidence that I wanted to somehow relate back to this with every guest I invite. So what I had in mind is we could maybe go into this relation between and the relationship between mental health and confidence. And I'm going to share my view, and then you tell me what you think and how you think these two might be strongly connected. So. So what I see and where I'm coming from is also an interesting story, as you said, maybe similar to yours. Is that since I started this business, and I'm really into it for like 7 months now, at this point, I just experience because I'm consciously pushing myself into situations and challenges. My confidence started to grow naturally, slowly, step by step. And before I really had this weird concept about confidence, or people who I thought that, oh my God, I created this amazing bubble around them. Oh my God, this person has so much confidence, that person. And the only thing I could feel was jealousy. I'm like, oh, I wish I could, I'm so jealous that they have. And I wish I could have that. But first, I don't have it. Second, oh, I can never have that. And the only thing I felt I was so desperate to have it. And I felt this big wall in me that I just don't have it. And I think still the general public and this generic view in society about confidence is that you have to born with it. And I think that's absolutely not true. No one ever on this planet was born with, I don't know, 1000% of confidence or 100%, whatever. It's just you really build it up. And now that I'm this business, I realize that I push myself into things. And at that point, when I push myself into that, I don't have the confidence. It's not the reason, right? It's not the reason why I'm doing things. Is I'm doing something. I take the first step, and then what I feel after, that's when confidence comes. I'm not confident on stages. I'm not confident in public speaking. I'm not confident doing a podcast, but I'm pushing myself into it because I have an inner drive to educate people, to help people, to put it out there. And this drive somehow became bigger than the actual fear and the anxiety. And it slowly overrides these things, right? And the feeling after what you have, that's confidence. And that has, I think, an amazing effect on our mental health and on our own journey. So that's how I see it. But tell me what you think, and tell me how you see the relation between the two. It's very interesting.
It's a fascinating topic, isn't it? Because I on the outside, I'm an extrovert, and I'm really confident. Well, I guess I come across confidently. I've done this for many years, so experience. It's quite interesting because you mentioned. I wrote down a couple of notes as you were talking because I wanted to make sure I covered off the key points that I wanted to say to you. But the experience thing's quite an interesting one, isn't it? So here's a challenge that a lot of people face. They get to a point in their jobs where they don't enjoy them anymore. Many people get to that place. Probably most people get to that place. Very few people you could say, I love my job. It's so wonderful. I'm passionate about it. It's probably less people than it is the people who feel unhappy. Why don't they change? Is it confidence? Is it ability? Is it anxiety? And I think that's half the battle for a lot of people, isn't it? So none of us are born experts at anything, right? We're all a blank canvas when we're born. We're all amateurs at everything. We don't even know how to change ourselves, feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, until we learn that, until we grow and we evolve our brain and our thinking, our capacity. And I think that's half the challenge. So a lot of people look at themselves as, well, if I was to change into something I enjoy, and then that touches on mental health a lot, because that's okay, tell me what it is you love doing. Tell me what it is that puts fire in your belly, makes you passionate, and gives you that thought of, I want to harness this. If we could sell it as a bottled product, it would fly off the shelves if you could say, here's a bottle of confidence for you to take a leap of faith and do the thing you want to do in life. It's really hard. And I remember when you and I had that first conversation, how you were sort of worried about all the different things. There was a lot of anxiety around, what do I do? Should I do this? Should I not do this? It's going to cost me a lot. It's going to take me a lot of energy and time. But you know what? It's great to talk about it. I think this is where a lot of people struggle, because we're expected to go and stand in the center of the stage and just perform. But if you've had bad experiences of standing with people and being ridiculed in some way, experience is going to influence the way you feel about those situations. Not everybody's built to stand on stage, right? Let's be honest. Not everybody's built to do podcast recordings or everything else. But it's about a personal investment in that. And that's what I think is really important. So confidence comes from personally investing in yourself to challenge yourself a little bit. Give yourself an opportunity. When somebody comes to you, Mesi, and says, would you like to record a podcast recording with me? You evaluate that from actually, I've never done it before. Maybe it'd be worth trying. I'm always for trying something once, right? At least you've got to try something once, because how would you know you don't like it if you never try it, right? That's my attitude. And I think what you've got and what you actually share a lot of, and what I'm really keen on everybody having, is good supporters around you, good coaching around you. So when you struggle with something, you can reach in and say, do you know what? I just need to talk about something. And it's exactly the same in the counselling world. That's what counselling really is. Unfortunately, a lot of people have this misconception that counselling is a place that you go when you're really struggling and it's really bad. Actually, counselling is something that a lot of people use just to help them through the experience and journey of life. They don't have to be ill. They don't have to have a really serious issue, but it could be I just need somebody to sound off. I need to talk to somebody. And I believe that helps people to build back confidence in whatever it is they do. There's also one other point I wanted to put in there, which is the feelings of anxiety and excitement are exactly the same. And yet we get so anxious and wound up into this thought. And you say, well, actually, how can we transfer that into an excited feeling? So the thing about doing a presentation on stage for me is I might feel what I determined to be anxious before. So I might get a dry throat. I might feel I need the toilet. I might need to just get some fresh air. I might need to loosen a bit of clothing because I'm fit, although I just wear t-shirts and polo shirts now, so it's not very easy. But that feeling should be translated into, I'm excited to do this activity. I'm going to stand up and talk about a subject that I'm truly passionate about. And I want that audience to feel I'm so passionate about this. And maybe I'll make mistakes. Maybe I'll swear a couple of times just because it's so important to me to get across the depth of what I'm trying to share. But you know what? I love it and I'm excited. So I think confidence comes from us taking those risks sometimes, but also having people close to us that say, look, it's all right. Just take the challenge, enjoy it, try to get, and if you need extra help and support, there's always people there.
I did a talk just the other day, actually on managing stress and avoiding burnout. It was still in April, because it was Stress Awareness Month, and I went there to do my presentation, and I did a similar session before a couple of times, but still I'm in this phase of I really need the strength and like push from my own self. No, you can do this. Shut down the chatter. No, you're going to smash it. You're going to be good. They're going to enjoy. They're going to be engaging. And, when you have it was a pretty big crowd, 60 people, so to say. For me, that's big. And when you see, just scroll through the crowd, with your eyes, and then you see some people really engaged. They look at you like, oh my God, this information is really fascinating. And you see their eyes light up and it's really touching them, and they're really, really paying attention. And then some of them, they're on the phone, or, they're turning. It was in the kitchen area, whatever. You see they're on or maybe they just whisper something to the other person. And then I think in these situations, your brain tends to kind of get fixated on the negative and catch the oh, and then you start thinking about, oh, why is she doing that? Why is those person not paying attention? Am I shit? Am I bad? Is it my accent? Is it the content? Is it I'm not experienced enough? Is it la 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 la? You make all these crazy things in your head, and then it's a choice. And in that holy tiny second, you have a choice to decide: am I going to focus on that, or am I going to focus on the rest of the 55 people who are actually paying attention from the 60? And, looking at their eyes and then kind of talking to them and engage further. And that was interesting. When you actually do the presentation, you talk, But then parallel, you have this chatter in your mind, which you actually discuss with yourself. Okay, don't pay attention to that. But then in the meantime, just carry on. I'm like, okay, that's, that's big. It was not easy, but I was so glad, I managed to overcome the negativity of it. And, not that it was any negative, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like you shift your focus. Yeah.
You know what? Our brains will subconsciously take on all the information that they see, and so whether or not we realize it and we notice it, it will become then a bit of a, okay, I can see this person there. I had one just as an interesting example that's like similar to that sort of anxiety in some respects, where I turned up in the room to do a session at a conference. It wasn't, it was a while ago now, and there were 700 people in the room. Okay, so you're thinking, oh my God, this is brilliant. So they put me in this room for this session that I was running in the workshop. 670 people left the room before my session, and so I had 30 people left. So it was like, oh, okay, this is, because I was like pumped, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is like incredible, right? So there was another speaker on before me, and in my head I'm going, oh, I'm a failure. I'm rubbish. Nobody wants to listen to me. And then you filter away that, and they're going off to other sessions to talk about other things and stuff. And you then start to sort of focus on, and you know what? I've got a very simple attitude to everything I do, which is like, if I'm helping one person with this conversation, with this training, with this meeting, with this event, then I'm helping more than no people, right? And that's what it's for. So I thought, you know what, these 30 people, you're going to get the best show that I can give you. I want you to walk out of here and tell the 670 people who didn't attend it, you should have gone to Matt's session because it was bloody brilliant. And that's what it came down to in the end. So I sort of turned that into more of a confident approach to go, right, I'm turning up the dials on the passion. I'm turning up the dials on the energy. I'm going to rock this place, even though it's a big room, sadly, with a lot of empty seats. But the 30 people were sat right in front of me. So I think it was like 2 people sat right in the corner still, and I think they were just falling asleep. I don't think they were with the session, but thankfully it was a bit more dark.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. On the note that it's Mental Health Awareness Week coming up very, very soon, and I think it's a pretty crucial era and time of the year for you as well, for me as well, being in the mental health and workplace well-being space. So I really wanted to ask you, based on your experience, because you're really in this field like for long, and you've seen different companies, you've seen many offices, you talk to many people, different age groups, generations, industries. So you really have the expertise on this. And so the question is, what do you think? What do you consider as the biggest issue these days at workplaces, so specifically workplace environments, when it comes to mental health? So I know that we can't really generalize here, and it may depend on different industries, but if you could maybe pick like one thing which you think it really needs attention, or that's the most important, or that's where you would start like fixing or doing anything with that, and what would that be? Specifically in offices.
So you already spoke a little bit about it in the last piece. Burnout is a big issue right now, and I think if we really connect that to the mental health journey of people and employees, one of the biggest challenges we face society right now is half of the workforce is in burnout. Now that is a scary reality. Indeed did a survey back in 2021 where they surveyed people about burnout, and 52% of people came back and said they were at the point of burnout. Now, if we don't take notice of that, and as a mental health community or well-being community, we're offering solutions to help people to look after themselves well. Now, it's also something that we need to take as a personal investment. So this is half the battle, right? Somebody goes to their employer and says, I'm really struggling with burnout. They lean on the employer. They expect the employer to make all the adjustments for them, and they expect the employer to make them better. Now, and that's just a generalized statement. But the responsibility of changing ourselves to get better is ours, personally. And I think that's half the challenge. So we're looking at it from 2 perspectives. One is the employer and one is the employee. So the employer is saying, we're putting all these solutions in place. We're getting Treat Your Staff in to do some wonderful sessions for us. We're getting Simpila in to come and train us in mental health and well-being. And we're doing everything we can to invest in these programs, which I think is great. And I don't think should stop. But it's an individual responsibility. So if I say to people in a session, go for a run, it's really great. It's just as scientifically proven to be better, just as good as medication is for your mental health. That's great. But then people will say, but Matt, I don't run. So I'm saying, okay, so I can't force you to run. I can't run for you. I can't do it. But if you were to find a way to move more, which is actually the theme, linking it into Mental Health Awareness Week this year, is about movement. Why do we need to move more? Well, because we've become very sedentary as a population. We just sit down all the time. We're on our phones all the time. We're consciously connected to technology all the time. And yet when we're not connected to technology, what do? We sit on the sofa and we just chill and it's like to move. So when people start to, and this is what I learned, right? This is through my many mistakes and my many lessons of life. When I started moving regularly, I felt better. When I started moving regularly, my stress levels came down. When I started moving regularly, I was able to help others. And my daughters taught me something really powerful. I can't fix everybody's problems. I can't fix my own daughter's problems. But what I can do is encourage people to look after themselves better. So just looking after yourselves, taking notice of it. How do we avoid illnesses? How do we avoid some of the forms of depression, anxiety? Well, maybe if we take better care of ourselves first, we might be able to avoid some of those risks. So for me, it's really simple. Businesses need to look at burnout as being a point of no return for many people, or very long return for a lot of people. So how do we avoid burnout? We avoid burnout by encouraging people to take better care of themselves sooner, giving them the tools, the support and everything else, but encouraging them to do it. So people will say, I don't have enough time, my day's too short, too much to do, no time for me. We need to create a better space for this, because productive employees aren't the ones in burnout. Productive employees are the ones who aren't feeling burnt out, who don't feel overly stressed. They actually feel they're doing something with purpose.
Exactly. And why? Exactly. And why? Because they just simply, as you said, they take better care of themselves, right? So I think I so agree with you, because many times it's like this constant battle between the employee and the employer, and the employee says, as you said, like, well, I'm creating all these amazing workspaces for you. I'm giving you everything. And then the employee says, well, you're just stressing me out all the time. But at the end of the day, what do you have control of?
It's got to be a balance.
Just on your own. Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of businesses struggle with culture, so there's a big cultural movement that needs to take place in many organizations, because the culture's always been this way. This is how we work. This is what we do. And a lot of that, and I think, simply put, a lot of that's driven by profitability. A lot of that's driven by shareholders' returns. And a lot of that's driven by expectations that aren't the people, they're number based, and I think that's a struggle, isn't it? I had a conversation yesterday with somebody just very quickly, and they asked me a question about growing my business. And I said, I will not grow my business just to make more money. I will grow my business with purpose, with a reason for being, and I will not break my people. So if it means I have to invest more money in my people, in my team, then I will. Because I put people before profit, and that's the difference. But the problem is, when you have shareholders who expect returns on investments, people before profit cannot happen unless shareholders are willing to sacrifice profits. And that's the biggest challenge for businesses right now. So there we go. That's my insights.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's really, really amazing, brilliant insights. And I love that you were like connecting back the whole thing to burnout and stress, because that's such a key thing. Well, I think this brings us to a wrap up today. And just wanted to say again a massive big thank you to you, Matt, for accepting the invite and taking the time and being here with us today. Do you have any last thoughts? Maybe I didn't really plan this, but it just came to my mind. Like something, like a kind, I don't know, advice, or like a tip or something which might be a positive takeaway to people who are listening, in our daily lives, or anything, connected to mental health, which is great to take away.
You know what? Yeah, I love it, because when I do my podcast, I always ask people for their insights, their inspirations, their quotes, their what connects them to what they love and what they do. And I've always lived with one, and I will share it. And I think it's something that I think life can be really difficult, and I totally get that. And I know I probably, on the outside, to people looking in, people want a life like mine in many ways, because I'm out constantly running, or I'm walking my dog, or I can play golf, or I can go away on holidays. And I know that's not affordable to everybody, or whatever it might be. But what I always think of is, I already mentioned it about, the sun will rise and we will try again, or we will go again. But my favourite thing, and my little snippet of life, is about, look, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Okay, so life is short when you break it down. We'll soon get to our ends of our lives and then look back and reflect. And I think you've got to enjoy the now. This is a really important part of everything. As much as some days are really difficult and challenging and really brutal on us, and they take all the energy that we've got and some, every single day, remember, if you don't enjoy what you do, if you don't have passion in your belly, if you don't have, fire in your soul, you need to make some changes. If it's not an enjoyable dance every day and you're just going through the motions of life to get you to retirement at 65, sorry to say it, you might not make retirement. That's the reality. So every day is another day to get on with it. But, we're here for a good time, not a long time. So enjoy it. Enjoy your birthday today, Mesi. Enjoy everything that you're doing because, you've made something for yourself. And I love that. And I really encourage that with everybody. So there you go.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to take this on for like each and every podcast guest. I'm going to ask this at the very end. Like I just had this random thought. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
So thank you so much, Matt, again for taking your time being here with us. And I'm really, really hoping that we managed to give something to people, something to lift up the days while listening and giving something as a takeaway to take away some positive thoughts and apply in their lives. Wishing everyone a wonderful May and please focus on mental health, not just specifically in this month, but through the whole year. And I shall meet you very soon, hopefully early June. Thanks again and have a good day.